Hey, welcome back. It's been a while. Without getting into too many of the details, I've been extremely busy. But as you can see, I've still been dabbling with some scooter stuff, and this thing arrived at my doorstep this morning. Little bit of a backstory: it was running really poorly. Part throttle was fine. Wide open throttle, fall on its face, didn't want to seem like it wanted to go anywhere. Owner tried a bunch of stuff and brought it here for me to kind of take a peek over. He tried 2 different carbs, he tried a bunch of stuff, and none of that stuff seemed to work. And in the end, I think it might have been an ignition related problem. So I'm gonna this is the ignition out of my kit that I've never actually used, and I put it on there. I added a ground strap and reset the timing, and it seems to work incredibly well right now. Like, it's quite peppy, seems to pull pretty good. I've had a few people ask me how to set these things up, and I'd only ever set mine up on the bench and then taken it off. So I said mostly just, told people that they're read the manual kind of thing. But this is a good excuse. I have this bike here, it runs this style of ignition. So we can pull this off, I can show you what I found, I can show you how I would check it, and then maybe we'll even try checking it with a timing light as well. So let's jump right into this. And I apologize for the lighting. I'm down a couple of lights currently at the moment. But yeah, so things you're gonna need: an RC-One, a Selettra ignition. You'll need a Selettra puller. I made mine out of just a piece of plate with a bolt in the middle, but anything will work. Don't hammer on it, don't try and pry it off with anything else other than like a center point puller, just because you'll just muck up the crank or something like that. So just use the proper tool, it makes your life so much easier. You'll need a top dead center gauge. So this is my fancy one, and on this bike I can actually use it. On my Typhoon I can't, there's a piece of metal there and it gets in the way. But it's a adapter that slides onto a dial gauge with a long extension on it. My Selettra puller, just a piece of plate, 2 holes laid out in it, and a bolt stuck through it, tapped into it. Pretty straightforward to make. And then this is the other style of micrometer for setting your ignition setup. A little bit less precise, but it will work. You'll still get your ignition set up either way. And you'll also need a 49cc timing wheel. You print these off on the website. You usually have to play around with it, try and get the layout right so it prints properly on the page, and you need it to be a certain size. So in this one I'm gonna put it on there, trace this out, cut it out, and put it around there. And then it'll sit over top of that, and I can use it to check the timing once I find top dead center. So one other thing that's good to have is the manual for this. There are a few key pages in here that we will talk about, and they all relate to this guy. So as best as I can tell, and I'm not a subject matter expert, but I've flipped through this thing and driven that. So there's three switches here: limiter, offset, and maps. Limiter basically turns on the limiter, so you can set the limiter anywhere from 11.5 to 14.3. I turn it off, which is to F, so you can set it, but the setup that worked for this was the limiter set to F. Offset is a degree shift, so in any direction. So there's the page for limiter, it's telling you what you need to know on the side there. For the offset, you can see here 0 is 0 offset, and then you can go negative, so going 9, 8, 7, 6 is half degree increments, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4 is also half degree increments positive, and then there's a 0, which is also, or 5 is also 0, sorry. And then there's the maps. So you have 0, which is 50 to 70 cc. You have 4 and 5, which are 90 cc and 90 cc. That's what I set this to. It seems to work pretty good. And then there's a couple other ones, 70, 80, 4TA and 4TB. And then there's 1. 1 is a fixed map at 16 degrees. So that's how you would check this thing. So what you would do is turn it to number 1, and then you can put your timing light on there with the degree wheel, similar to how you've done it, how I showed it, how to do it in the previous videos. And you could dial the thing in until it hits 16 degrees. When it hits 16 degrees, you know that you have your ignition set in the right spot, cinch down all the screws, and you're pretty much good to go at that point. So that's kind of the box demystified. So I believe I have it set to all of the settings that I have. So top one is limiter, the middle one going down is offset, and then the bottom one is maps. So that's kind of what I have it set to on that bike as well, and that seems to work. There's one other thing in this book that is also importante, and that's this little chart in the very back. So of course the RC-One 94cc cylinder isn't listed in here. However, it has a bore of 50 mil and a stroke of 44. So if you can check there, any of those kits that use that bore and stroke end up with a 2.3 millimeter 2.3 millimeter before top dead center ignition setup. So that's what I set this one to. Seems to work okay. So in my case here, I don't actually need to pull the rotor off, but it would be the same as setting it up on the other videos. You know, rotate the motor, find top dead center, roll the thing around again until you get to 2.3 millimeters before top dead center, set the rotor, set the mark on the rotor to the same place. I also at that point would roll it back to top dead center and make a little mark on the side like I have here, showing where top dead center is, so when you put your degree wheel on you can actually see where that is in relation to everything. And yeah, it's also a good idea to mark it on the cases as well. So if you do move it, you know, if you move the stator plate, you'll know where in relationship you moved everything as well. So good habit to get into though is marking top dead center on both the case and the inner rotor, so you can see where you've moved stuff around. Just makes life a little bit easier. If you want to set it back to 0, you can always just align the 2 marks again too. So on this Selettra, it's a bit more annoying. I basically took a compass and scribed a circle, cut it out, but it's got this weird bump on it. I don't actually need the whole degree wheel. Really all I need to mark is to tape it here, from here to here and here to here. So what I'm gonna do is tear a chunk out there, tear a chunk out there, and now it still doesn't fit. I need to trim a little bit more out of the inside or print it slightly bigger, but actually, yeah, I'm gonna cut a little bit more out of the inside, because the thing is you want it to be basically the same diameter as this, because if you have it offset, then your degrees aren't exactly as close as they could be. And this is just kind of rough, but it's a visual thing. You can check and make sure that you're actually where you need to be. And I'm gonna cut it down here too, because that hose is in the way. But now I can put that 0 at top dead center and tape that there, and that'll give me a visual of how many degrees it is for setting it up. I mean, it's a bit crude, but really it's just a visual representation of an amount of degrees for the gun, so you can say, yeah, this is right. If you're having problems, you can go, okay, well, if I put the thing on fixed map and it shows 16 degrees or thereabouts, that's probably not your problem. So that right there was not even close to 20 degrees. So we need to rotate this quite a bit. Before I do that, I might recheck top dead center just to confirm that I'm indeed on top dead center. And the water pump battery is getting low. So let me check some things and we'll try this again. So I readjusted the 0 point to this with the dial set at top dead center. This was off a little bit. I know that I messed with this a little bit earlier, so I must have moved it an amount. So let's pull that out and check and see what the timing is again with it set to the static map of 16 degrees. So that's it set at 16 degrees with the limiter set to, with the CDI box set to the fixed position. So I'm going to set the map to the number 3 position, I think. Yeah, let's try 3 just for shits. Let's get some tools out of the way. Do a quick spin up and see how it likes that. That's kind of how I would go about tackling this, and to go and check it as well. If you put it to the fixed timing, you can check that fixed timing. It's always going to be 16 degrees, or it should be, as long as you set your marks up and your paper up and everything. You know, your mark's going to end up being in the right spot, and you'll be able to get your timing set. But I think that's it for me for this evening. Till next time, take care.